What's up YouTube, I'm Guy, and today on the channel we're going to be checking out a Vaer watch. Now, if you've never heard of the brand Vaer, if you're not familiar with them, don't feel bad. Until relatively recently, I wasn't too familiar with them either. But a couple of weeks ago, I was surfing around YouTube, looking at channels that I subscribe to, and Jody over at One More Watch reviewed one of their watches. He reviewed the Vaer Field Watch, and I was pretty impressed with that watch. As you guys probably know, I'm a big fan of field watches, and what he showed us and what he said about it, it definitely piqued my interest in this watch. Well, I was pleasantly surprised when about a week later, Vaer reached out to me and asked if I'd like to review one of their products. So, here we have it today. I'm going to bring it to review on the tabletop. I'm going to let you guys know what I think about it. I didn't get the exact same model that Jody got. He had the Field Watch, and I have what they call the Heritage model. I kind of like this Heritage model a little bit better in terms of style and aesthetic, if I'm being perfectly honest. They both have that 1940s, 50s, 60s kind of military field watch aesthetic. But this one is less like you might find from something like a Hamilton watch, if you're familiar with those. And don't get me wrong, I love Hamilton watches and I love their field watches. But this design is a little bit different. It's a nice change of pace. I really like it. Like I said, Vaer did send me this watch. They gave me this watch. So I am going to, by extension, give it to one of you guys. To celebrate my recent milestone of hitting 20,000 subscribers, probably over the course of the next month or so, I'm going to be giving away several watches. So stick around till the end of the video to find out how you might be able to get this watch. And let me say thank you to the company, Vaer, and the guys over there that got in touch with me to provide me this watch. I really appreciate you giving it to me so that I can in turn review it and give it to one of my viewers. Thanks for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it, guys. Alright guys, here we have it, the Vaer Heritage. I figured I'd give you a quick look at the presentation box, the shipping box, if you will. It's a nice little package. Just a simple basic thing. Open this up. Kind of tight-fitting lid. Let's see if we can get that. And on the underside here is some information. They talk about the assembled in the United States stuff. They give you some specs down at the bottom on the watch. We'll talk about that more here in a few minutes. Then you have the watch itself. As you can see, this watch comes with two straps. It is currently on the nylon NATO strap. There's also a really nice Horween leather single pass kind of NATO style strap. Very, very high quality. I very much like that strap. We'll of course take a look at that up close as well. So I've been getting a lot of complaints, maybe let's be a little bit more polite and call them requests, to do reviews on more affordable watches. People have commented that I focus, at least lately, too much on higher end and luxury watches. Well, the truth of the matter is that's just what's been available to me to bring to review. So when I do get opportunities like this, when a company like Vaer reaches out to me and asks me if I'd like to review one of their products, I'll go ahead and I'll jump on it and try to bring more variety to the channel. Now, I'm happy that I jumped on this one. I already had a pretty positive impression of this watch based on other things that I've seen. But having had now a bit over a week to kind of wear it around and try it out, I do really like this watch. This is definitely an affordable watch. Price points come in between $165 and $199, depending on the strap options that you get your watch on. Now, this one is one of the more expensive ones at $199 because it comes with this nylon NATO strap, and it comes with this nice Horween leather strap. We'll take a look at that strap in more detail here in a few minutes. First, I just want to talk about the watch, though. First thing you'll notice, obviously, this is a quartz movement, as you can see by the tick, tick, tick of the red seconds hand. We're going to talk about this quartz movement. We're going to talk about quartz movements in general relative to different price points, whether or not it's a good value or not. I believe it is, and I'll explain why. But first, we're going to go over the basic specifications and features of this timepiece. First things first, let's talk about the dimensions. We have a 40 millimeter case diameter, so pretty much perfect for just about everyone in terms of size. We have a 20 millimeter lug width. I'm not a huge fan of 22 millimeter lug width watches in general. I'm happy that this one is down at the 20 millimeter size. In terms of thickness, relatively thin actually, at 9, maybe 9.5 millimeters thick. You can see the crystal does protrude up just a hair, so that's going to add to that thickness. Right around 9.5 or just under that though. And a wingspan from one tip of the case to the other, lug to lug width, 47.5. That's an excellent size for a wingspan. On smaller wrists, maybe, like myself, 6 3/4 inches, anything under or around 48 is going to be just about perfect. So this is sized absolutely ideally for me, and I think for the, again, vast majority of potential users that would consider wearing a watch like this. Stylistically, the dial, that's the main event here. I think it's absolutely fantastic looking. I love this vintage, they call it the heritage style, and yeah, it has a very heritage style look to it. Not a stereotypical 100% traditional field watch like you might see on, a Hamilton watch, for example. A little bit more like the old style Omega military watches from the 1940s with that train track, seconds track outboard of the Arabic numerals. I think it is a really great presentation on the dial. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the rest of the features of this watch. First things first, I think people are really going to be excited about this. 100 meters of water resist and a screw-down crown. And this is a very nice crown. The grip or knurling texturing on the crown is outstanding. Even better than that, though, is the threading is just perfectly smooth. At these very kind of entry-level prices, usually a threaded crown is going to be gritty, it's going to be tight, it's going to be difficult to interface with. This crown is pretty much perfect in my book. 100 meters of water resist with that screw-down crown. Again, I think that's going to be a real plus, a real big benefit to a lot of people and a lot of people's opinions. We have sapphire crystal here. That is also outstanding, highly scratch resistant. I don't think it has AR coating, but I don't think it really needs it. I mean, I'm pointing it directly into the brightest hot spot on my light box, and you can still see the dial. In standard kind of lighting conditions, it's fine. I don't think it needs AR coating. Works very, very well. The handset and the numerals on the dial are loomed with BGW9 Super Luminova. Interesting, the hands are in blue. The numerals and markers on the dial are a green Luminova, so multicolored. There is no lume on the seconds hand. I don't think that that's entirely necessary. It's not a dive watch. It's not something that you really need on the seconds hand, so I'm not too concerned about that, But yeah, overall the lume is quite good. Not blindingly bright, but certainly adequate. Definitely, at least you would consider it to be average. The watch does come on a ballistic nylon style NATO strap, and it is signed there on the metal keeper. The hardware has a nice kind of matte finish. This is just a typical no frills NATO strap. It's not like a high-end seatbelt material NATO strap. It's fine for what it is. And the reason why it's fine for what it is because it also comes with this very, very outstanding Horween leather single pass kind of NATO strap. I guess it's technically not a NATO strap by virtue of it being a single pass strap, but very, very nicely done. Signed there, Vaer on the underside. I really like this strap. Now, I didn't even wear it on this strap because I didn't want to put wear and tear on it because I'm going to give this watch away at the end of the video. I'll explain how you might be able to get your hands on this particular watch that I'm reviewing. So yeah, I didn't wear out any of the holes or anything, but I do really think this is an outstanding strap. Someone is very much going to enjoy it. Last thing to hit on in terms of features and specifications, this is a quartz movement. It uses the 5-joule Ronda 763. It's a good movement. It's a workhorse quartz movement. It's got a roughly 40 to 48 month battery life. Quartz accuracy, so, plus or minus better than a second per day. On average, I think it's minus 10 to plus 20 per month or something in that realm, if I recall the spec sheet on this movement correctly. Overall, it's a fine little movement. There's nothing wrong with it. People are, of course, going to complain that Number one, at the price, maybe it's too expensive to be a quartz-based watch. Number two, they just don't like quartz movements. I'm going to address that here before we move on and say that I've always been on record as being a fan of quartz watches, especially affordable watches. I love quartz watches. They're reliable. They're just set them and forget them, pick them up and ready to go. Now, let's talk about the value proposition of a quartz versus an automatic watch, because people are definitely going to say, oh, it's a $165 to $199 watch. You can get an automatic watch for that price. That's true. But generally, the automatic watch that you're going to get in that price point is going to have a Seiko NH35 movement. Now, if we really consider what you're getting there, all you're getting is the lowest of the low end of automatic movements. They're okay, they're fine, they work, but there's nothing special about them. In terms of the price, like, what does this movement cost? Wholesale, this Ronda Quartz movement's probably, I don't know, $7, $8, $10. It's an inexpensive movement. But that Seiko movement that you would find in similarly priced micro brand watches, that movement only costs $15, $16, maybe $20. So when you look at this watch at, say, $165 with its quartz movement, and then you look at a watch that's around the same price with its automatic movement, the price difference in terms of the build of materials between just the movements is $10. You know what I mean? So, like, this isn't overpriced because it has a quartz movement. This quartz movement costs more or less within plus or minus $10 of the movement that is going to be in an entry-level, typical entry-level Seiko-based automatic watch. So I don't think there's an argument to be had that because it's similarly priced to watches like that it's overpriced. The movements are marginally more expensive, or less expensive depending on which way you look at it. So I have no problem with the price point here, vis-a-vis the fact that it is running a quartz movement. Now, I like quartz movements. They're extremely reliable. They're long-lasting. They're zero service. When an automatic watch that cost you $175 to $200 finally does buy the farm and is in need of service, what are you going to do? Are you going to actually spend a couple $100 to have that Seiko NH35 movement serviced? Maybe if it has a lot of sentimental value to you, but most likely no. At this price point, I think that, get what you like. But me personally, I like quartz movements. I like the movement that's in this because of those reasons. Now let's talk about the quality of materials, the fit and finish. First of all, the case. I am super impressed with this case. The overall style and aesthetic of the case is quite nice. I mean, the proportions, the geometry, the lines of the case, it's done very well. The thing that really kind of impressed me, borderline blew me away, was the finishing, the brushing on the case, and I'll try to get it in some good light here. A very nice matte brushed finish on the flanks of the case and on the tops of the case and on the bezel. But if we get in here real close, we can see that there's these nice little bevels of polish. I think it's kind of dark, too dark to almost see, but very finely defined, nice little polished edges. Just here on the edges of the lugs, and then on the edge of the bezel, there's a nice little polished area as well. Gives it just a hint of classy kind of sophistication, but still keeps it well within the realm of its vintage or heritage aesthetics and sensibility. I think that this case is done really well in terms of fit and finish, but also in terms, again, of the style, of the shape, of the proportions and the aesthetics. Really, they nailed it with this case. Touched on that crown already, screw down crown, very impressed with it. I like that very much. The crystal, sapphire crystal, again, not AR coated, but not really necessary in my opinion. Perfectly legible, highly scratch resistant. You're getting a lot of quality materials here between the crystal, between the crown, water resistance rating, the overall finishing of the case. I mean, very impressive. When you talk about a watch at under $200, I am, pretty pleased with it. I think people are going to draw a comparison to a watch like, say, the Timex Expedition, which I have reviewed in the past. I have a video from a couple of years ago on the Expedition. I like that watch, don't get me wrong, but not a fair comparison. This is done much more nicely. The Expedition is a good watch, don't get me wrong again, but in terms of the overall quality, fit, and finish, construction, and materials, this blows it out of the water. Whether or not it's 3 to 4 times more value for your money, that's for you to determine. I think it is. But, that just wanted to chime in because I know people are going to probably draw comparisons between this watch and that one. The dial on this is kind of, the main event. And it's the only place where it stumbles slightly for me. In particular, and you probably could guess it, the position, the orientation of the date complication kind of truncates the 3 marker on the dial. It's a little bit awkward. It's not a make or break kind of deal for me. I understand that these movements have a date complication, and your options are to just kind of cover up the date complication, and you just have this ghost date behind the dial, or, you make it fit somehow. It's just a slight misstep for me in terms of the style and the aesthetic. It doesn't look 100% quite perfect, but overall, again, not a make or break for me. The handset is nice, kind of a pencil style handset. They have lume-filled central portions, and like I had said, they're blue on the hands. The lume on the markers and the numerals is all green. It's a really nice contrast. It looks very good. That railroad track seconds chapter ring, very, very cool. It's a hallmark of, watches from the era that this draws its inspiration from. I really do like that. And while I am also a big fan of the traditional field watch, which has the Arabic scale 1 through 12 with the 24-hour scale inside of that, I really like this too, and it's nice to kind of mix it up and have different options. Very, very nicely done dial. Otherwise, the dial is pretty straightforward and plain. 100 meter mark at the 6 o'clock side, Vaer branding at the 12 o'clock side, and then American Assembly down at the bottom. Let's talk about that claim, American Assembly, for a moment. So what does assembled in America mean? Well, from my understanding of it, the components are sourced probably internationally overseas, brought into Vaer's facility in California is where they're located, and they obviously put it all together, quality control it, test everything. So while it's not completely manufactured and made in America, I find some confidence in the fact that it's not made overseas and just shipped in, and we hope that the quality control has been adequate. I'm a little bit more, I feel a little bit more confident in the quality control of having all of the components assembled here by their workers. If you're looking for an affordable, casual, kind of everyday watch, it's a little bit on the sporty side, but has those vintage or heritage sensibilities. Can't go wrong with this watch. Overall, again, very impressed. A few minor little things that I could nitpick, like the placement of the date on the dial, but not a big deal. Not a deal breaker. Now, what I'm excited to see is their automatic watch that they're going to be making and releasing sometime in the near future. And I have my fingers crossed that they're going to send me one. They have, I believe, 2 models coming out. One is going to have a ETA movement, and not even the 2824. It's going to be like the step up movement. It's going to have a subdial for the seconds at the 6 o'clock side. It's going to very much look like the Omega 1940s. I think they call it the Dirty Dozen watch. I think that's the one for me. I think it's awesome. But then they're going to have a slightly more affordable one with a Miyota, maybe it's a 9015, I forget off the top of my head, but a Miyota automatic movement. There's going to be probably something in the order of, a couple $100 of price difference between those 2 watches. So, yeah, keep an eye out for those if you like this style, but you just absolutely have to have an automatic watch. Those options are coming, and again, I really hope to get a chance to check out, at a minimum, that ETA version here on my channel in the future. Alright guys, well that's my review of the Vaer Heritage. I hope you enjoyed checking it out. I do really like this watch. Sure, there's a few little things in terms of style and aesthetic that I might change, the placement of the date on the dial, little things like that, nothing that makes or breaks it for me. Overall, it's an outstanding watch. In terms of The overall fit and finish of the quality of construction and craftsmanship, and of course the value, I think this is an outstanding watch. I am actually highly impressed with it. One more time, let me say thank you to Vaer Watches for sponsoring this video and donating this watch in so that I can review it and give it to one of you guys. Now, how can you win this watch? Well, it's pretty simple. I've hit 20,000 subscribers recently, and to commemorate and celebrate that occasion, I'm going to give some watches away. This is going to be the first one. If you'd like to try to win it, very, very easy. Unfortunately, you do have to be a member of Facebook, and I know some of you guys aren't a member of Facebook. I apologize, but it's the easiest way for me to hold giveaways. It's very difficult for me to pick a member of my subscribers here strictly on YouTube and get a hold of them or contact them. YouTube doesn't have a two-way communication system like that. So if you're on Facebook, it's easy for me to reach out to you. How do you win it through Facebook? Well, I have a Facebook group called the JustBlueFish Watch Club. I'll have a link down below in the description of this video. Click on that link, request to join the Facebook group, and sometime over the course of the next week or so, I'm going to give this watch away. Again, stay tuned because I'm going to be giving away several watches this month, and they're probably all going to be given away through that Facebook group. Alright guys, well that's going to do this one for now. Thanks again for tuning in. As always, if you'd like to help support me in the channel, there's a number of ways that you can do that. Down in the description of this and every video I do, you'll find links to my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter accounts, my social media accounts if you will. Follow me on all those platforms. I would really appreciate that. Number 2, if you'd like to support me financially through Patreon, that would be a big help. I thank everybody that has been supporting me on Patreon over the last couple of years. I do really appreciate it. Finally, if you'd like to support me financially without spending any extra money of your own, it's quite simple. You can click on my Amazon affiliate link before you do your shopping on Amazon, and I get a small commission. If you like something that I've reviewed and you're thinking about buying it, click on that Amazon affiliate link before you go buy it, or anything else for that matter, and I get a small commission. Those commissions do add up, and a big thanks to everyone that has been using my Amazon affiliate link. I do appreciate it very much. Well, again, that's going to wrap this one for today. So until the next one, I'll sign off and say bye now.